Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Yes, I will mute everyone now. Thank you for the reminder, because I almost forgot. Mute all. I will unmute you later as you have questions when we go to the chat part of the call. We start off with an activation and a clearing, which is very much focused on DNA clearing and our bodies, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual bodies, and also the DNA to activate our multidimensional DNA, and with special focus on what has been going on at the moment of our soul fractals, some of which we don't need anymore because they also come from ancestors or vows, agreements taken in other lifetimes. And important to say here is, even though it's other lifetimes, past and present doesn't really work the way we understand it. That's a 3D concept, so it really all is parallel. So some of these things are also attachments, implants. There are numerous things we can understand as these energies that block us and weigh us down and prevent us from really connecting with our higher self clearly and being able to progress in the ascension journey. Because for many lifetimes our DNA has been manipulated, messed with, and also through a lot of soul trauma. We had some of our soul pieces that we do need, that contain our ancient gifts and abilities. So we reintegrate them as we make more space and clear out all that is not needed anymore. So that's what really the first activation is all about. And what I was also guided to share is that the reason why it's so important, or not so important, or why it's, let's say, an advantage to call in these lost soul fractals is that we are now at a time where we are trying to access these multidimensional abilities and gifts that we had in other lifetimes and that gotten lost. And if you have things like past life regressions, for example, what you find is that by finding out who you were and what kind of trauma you maybe have been through or what kind of experiences, that they very much affect you in this lifetime. So there's a bleed through of these other realities. And it also includes our off-planet incarnations. So at the moment, or what the whole ascension process is really about, is clearing out everything that we don't need anymore, all of the karmic density, so that we can then access these multidimensional aspects of ours that we do need and that are in the highest alignment with our higher selves. And then we can access these gifts and abilities. And also what I have found from my own work over the years is that knowing who we were is not so much important from a perspective of, identifying with any persona. It's not coming from an ego perspective, but it's coming from a perspective of self-realization. So if I, for example, know in a past life I was the daughter of Mary and Joshua, and I'm reluctant and was very reluctant all day to mention this because it triggers people in different ways. And I also have had a huge block in that regard because I know I was very much persecuted in other lifetimes for who I was and what I stood for, which is more an archetypal thing. And it has to do a lot with the 12-strand DNA and the union of the masculine and feminine and also the divine child. But I know through knowing that, I can then understand my soul purpose better, because I'm here to bring in the frequencies of the 13th dimension from source and share these keys and codes with other people, which is one of the reasons why I do a lot of my work for free, because I also want to have as many people as possible exposed to these keys and codes And I obviously also want to build up a client base, because that's why I've always been so focused on this path. And even before I knew who I was, and I was many different people, as we all were, we all have many different incarnations, and nobody is more or less, and we've all been many different things. I've also been, you know, a beggar on the street, basically. So we go for all these different incarnations to make all these different experiences, and we pick up these different soul aspects that we now have come in this lifetime to purify, cleanse, and integrate. Because what we're going through is obviously the merging of oneness. When I go into meditation, sometimes, especially the unity meditations on a Sunday through Sandra Walter, which I'm a big fan of for the time that's been going on for the last 3 years, when we go to the part where you merge with source, you can truly see it's a sea of consciousness. It's all one. It's all, I see it as many sparkling crystalline lights of pure source light, all in a sea of consciousness. And that's where we all are. We're all one. We're all the same. That's where we came from. That's where a part of our soul is always with. One of the fractals are always staying with source. And that's so important to remember at this time, that even though we might have people in our lives or come across that don't seem so nice, that they have also signed up for this experience in, it's really just playing a role. That's what we have to understand. It's all very archetypal. And we're getting to a place where we are not going to experience karma anymore. I was given that message yesterday. It's the end of karma, and that's where we really have to get to, where we don't hold blame against other people anymore, and everybody gets released from the karmic retribution that we might sometimes feel should be served to certain members of the collective. But in the end, I could see they have made the biggest sacrifice to come in this huge amount of density and experiencing this really deep levels of density. And we will go away from the whole notion of good and bad, right and wrong, because that's the only way how we can resolve this whole experience. We have so far been learning through duality, and this is through opposites. And we're going to get to this place now where we can truly see we are just mirrors of each other. We are all, I can see each one of you is another aspect of me, because that's the oneness. And obviously, as we go through all the clearings, we do acknowledge our hurt and our pain. And we also set strong boundaries, because what we also came to learn as especially as light workers and having been held down a lot by these negative energies, is that we need strong boundaries. That's what we came here to learn, where before we might have been a bit too nice, too forgiving. No, not too forgiving. You can never be too forgiving and loving, but it has to come from a place of, I love you, but don't do this with me. Not anymore. It's not okay. Because that's what we're teaching them. And they're teaching us that we need stronger boundaries and more discernment, and in who we spend our time with, who we share our space with. But again, it's not from a place of, I hate you. It's from a place of, I love you. And that's why I'm telling you this, because I love myself so much that I'm not doing this anymore. So I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to, I was guided to give a little bit of the background to why this work is so important. And I always say to some of my friends, and they ask me what I'm doing, clearing, activating, calling in my light, because that's really what this is all about. And it takes up a lot of my time, actually. So anyway, let us start with the activation, and then we go over to the chat. I'm going to try just to play a little bit of singing bowl music. It has just disappeared. One moment. There we go. Sometimes it's nice to have that in the background. So if we just want to get into a comfortable position, And open your hands up, pointing towards the ceiling, as in a receptive mode to receive all the energies and the keys and codes shared. And we take a couple of deep breaths, expanding the abdomen as we breathe in, and contracting the abdomen as we breathe out. Breathing in love and breathing out any density, any stress, any worries, any tension. Breathing in love, breathing out any density. And we connect to our heart center, to the God atom within our high heart, the spark of source within us. And from here, we connect and merge with our higher selves, Christed selves, multidimensional selves, mighty I Am Presence, and pure source-like consciousness. Breathing this into our bodies, into our heart. All the keys and codes from source and from our higher levels. And we connect from our heart center down to the crystalline core of Gaia, Gaia's heart. You can imagine this as roots going down, or a diamond, golden, crystalline pillar of light meeting Gaia's heart, which you can imagine as a big crystal or Merkaba. And we breathe this back up, Gaia's love and Gaia's codes, back into our heart center and out into our energy fields. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Across all time and space. Ionara shekitana te yutura setiana ratu sutu shana yetikarata. Ionara seyati yatura te anayeni. Oyanaye. And we call forth our divine entourage, all the beings of light that we personally acknowledge, of the highest light and purity, that work within the law of one. We call forth all the angels, archangels, ascended masters, our galactic brothers and sisters, Andromedans, Sirians, Palladians, Venusians, Arcturians, Antarans, the Lyrans, and we call for Joshua and Mary Magdalene. We call forth the Ashtar Command, the Galactic Federation of Light, the 12 and 24 elders that surround the throne of God. We call forth the Lion people, the Mare people, the Agathans, Ancient Ones, unicorns, our dragons, elves, sylphs, brownies. We call forth the overlighting Deva of healing, the Great White Brotherhood, the brother and sister of the Rose, the Holy Grail, and the White Flame, Elohim, Seraphim, and Mother, Father, God, to be present throughout the whole call, assisting us in this clearing and healing. Ritukuchu shukrarata tarati sikarate kitikitu inananata yate asiarata natu ukuta. And we clear, heal, purify, and upgrade our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies of any density, clearing any density, releasing it back to source, anything that can be let go of, and of the space we are in, clearing, purifying, putting us into a bubble of light, impenetrable, which is surrounded by a violet diamond flame, which will transmute any energies, any lower energies that may want to enter our space, transmute it back to love, back to source. And we clear, heal, balance, upgrade our meridians, our nadis, oxytonal lines, our chakras, all of them spinning at a perfect frequency and color in this now, upgrading each other to next highest expression. And we clear, heal, balance, upgrade our cellular system, every cell, every atom, every atomic and subatomic particle and wave, and all the spaces in between. The mitochondria, and we clear, heal, balance our DNA, purified, divinitized, upgraded. Ishura seti yanakara seti kushutu narati su yanate atakanata. Uyanara seania shiadia karatea situ ratana te akituna tanamata. We cancel, clear, release all contracts that we ourselves have made, or our bloodlines, our ancestral lines. We clear our contracts, vows, agreements, promises, cords, hooks, ties, all karmic density, any programming, implants, attachments, possessions, miasms, all and everything not in alignment with our original divine true human source blueprint. We declare these vows, contracts, oaths, pacts, agreements for ourselves and for all our ancestors and our bloodlines, null and void, in this incarnation and all others, across time and space. All parallel realities, alternate universes, alternate realities, alternate universes, all planetary systems, all source systems, all dimensions, all layers. We ask for the release of all crystals, devices, implants, thought forms, emotions, matrices, veils, cellular memory, pictures of reality, genetic limitation, and death now. We ask the divine will for the awakening to the highest degree that serves our highest soul growth and good. Ishara se kitana yediki rata du tu shuna ya ne ya na ya nanata. Eunara su nateaki. Eunaya nasea hinatanata. Eunaya ne. Ishunana yenana. Eyanayinani yaseati. Oyanaya neati. Oyanenate. All belief systems, all behavioral patterns, programming, templates are now released from ourselves and our ancestral lines. Any fear programming, any blocks, any hindrances, conscious and unconscious, all energies of separation from others and from source. We release all judgment of others and of the self, all labeling, all lack of forgiveness, all negative thought forms, archetypes, negative ego, of feeling more than others or less than others. All guilt, blame, fear, shame, poverty consciousness, enslavement, all these templates, all and everything not in alignment with our true self, with our true divine human source blueprint. All is now being released back to source, never to return. Ishuna sea kita ya narati ya shanate ya kitara se ina naratara te tikutu shukutana ye kitara te kiti ya shutuna inana ana sea tiku ukarate ikana hina shutarate siya tarate ya kiatu uyanana. Again, releasing all programs, beliefs, all that hinders us, anything that blocks us from accessing our true divine self, our original divine true human source blueprint, emotions, imprinting, templates, all shock and trauma from this and other lifetimes, and that from our bloodlines. Release all stuck soul fragments, not in alignment with our true divine self, back to source, to be purified, healed, back into oneness. And we reconnect and call forth those fragments of our soul, our aspects, pieces that split up through soul trauma, and that are in alignment with our true divine human source blueprint. We call this forth and back into our vessel, purified, divinitized. Ianara sekirata tekiti shukutana yetana yeti kurate siyana yeti anatara su. Ianana shiaratara tekiti yatana hanatana sanata. Usanateaka. We now activate our true divine human source blueprint. And we activate and call forth the original 7th dimensional cellular blueprint from Sirius into our cellular system, into our whole body. And we activate our diamond crystalline solar light bodies and rainbow body, the rainbow bridge, the bridge to new earth, the bridge to new experience. Yanara se ashirana te rakia hana tu yaniyana isuna yaniyati iunana yanata. We now activate the threefold flame of love, power, and wisdom within our heart center. It's a pink, blue, golden yellow flame that together turns into the white flame of illumination, purification, and ascension. And see this flame engulfing your whole body, out into your energy fields, purifying, illuminating, upgrading all levels, layers, and dimensional expressions of you now. And we expand this flame out into the cities we live in, the countries, states, and into the whole planet. Purifying, illuminating, upgrading all life forms, all of Gaia, every man, woman, and child, animal kingdom, all the kingdoms, elementals, purified, illuminized, divinitized. And we push this out further into the galaxy, solar system, universe, and the whole multiverse. Purifying, illuminating, upgrading all levels, layers, and dimension expressions of Source now. All life. Ionana Seyana Yeti. Uyana Sheyati Aneya. With this, we activate the triple helix of our multidimensional DNA, activating our multidimensional gifts and abilities, such as claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, teleportation, bilocation, telekinesis, and so forth. All the gifts we are here to bring as part of our soul's incarnation, to share with others in divine service. Hira karate kikara tukutu shukutu na yetikiti yatikita na yetiku sutu ratetiki yatanata. We merge, clear, purify our multidimensional DNA. Imagine a big master strand of DNA, 12 strands DNA wrapping all around you, around your whole body. Crystalline, diamond, plasma, DNA. Activating all multidimensional DNA. Overriding and overwriting any lesser codes, any lesser DNA, any lesser strands. We're reconnecting our multi-dimensional DNA, purified, divinitized, calling this back into our bodies, into our cells, into our heart. Now we're imagining a 13th strand wrapping all around us. The Divine Mother energies of pure, divine, unconditional love, the etheric, purified, divinitized. Shutanaye Kanayati Uyanaye Unanase. And we activate the 14th strand of pure souls all around us. Sacred geometry. And we activate 144 strands of DNA. Vishunaye tarate sikutanaye natia tia katutu tu kutu sukutu kutu 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 kutu. Calling forth the conscious awareness of all that we are, the oneness of all life, activating the highest timelines of ascension for ourselves and for all life. Fikurata kanashekiti yasananata tukutu kushamatananata. We now invoke the spiral vortex in the wisdom of the soul. I invoke the spiritual vortex to cleanse, purify all of our energy systems, our 12 chakras, our emotional, spiritual, mental, and etheric energy fields, physical energy fields, physical body, and our spinal cord energy fields. To remove any density released through this activation and clearing back to source. You can imagine this as a white light starting 30 feet above our head, going down to 30 feet below our feet, rotating clockwise, all back to source. Can imagine this being vacuumed out of our energy fields back to source. And this will keep going until all the density released has been removed. And we now anchor in our Antakarana, our pillar of light, which is running through our central column, our spinal column, which starts in the Starlight Gateway Chakra, about 30 centimeters above our head, and goes down to about 30 centimeters below our feet into the Earth Star Chakra, into Gaia. Imagine this as a white pillar of light. And we anchor all these keys and codes into the grids where we are, the physical locations. Anchoring this into Gaia, into Gaia's heart. And we connect to all the grids, sacred sites, vortices, Gaia's chakra points, pyramids, waters and aquifers, crystals and crystal beds. All ascension gateways, connecting these points and with each other and the whole planetary body. Hiona shana te kita na se tupu toka na yeti anasana yeta na yeti kitura sheti anatana. And we now imagine the bubble of light that we started off with to be filled with pure divine love, the love of the Divine Mother, filling every cell, every atom, every atomic and subatomic particle and wave of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies across all time and space. Now we come back to our physical bodies, wiggling our hands and toes, slowly. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that. And have returned to awakened consciousness, as in your bodies. Just gonna check the messages for a moment. Perfect, okay. So now the next part, I wanted to try a slightly different format, as in opening up the space for us to share any questions we might have. I picked the topic of love and relationships because this is truly what most of our life is about. It's about the relationship we have with ourselves, which really starts with self-love and is sometimes, I believe, some of the hardest things to truly achieve because we have been so conditioned and programmed from our environments, from our parents. It's also in our ancestral DNA, through many lifetimes. It's through religion, such as the Catholic religion, who has taught a lot of, having to feel guilty or ashamed of who we are, how we live our lives, just to give some examples. And really, through also always having been exposed. Why is this not stopped? 1 second. The music was still going. We're so conditioned by our environment of all the pictures of, a lot of models or actresses, or actors. I mean, it's for men and women, but I guess us women are a little bit more conditioned to look after our appearance and how we are perceived. It really has come up, I found, for myself this week or last week as well. Like from one moment, from overnight, I gained about 10 pounds for I don't even know what. And that's totally fine. But it just reminded me of how much we are, conditioned to looking after our weight or the way our hair looks or anything really. I mean, especially over the last half a year and throughout the ascension journey, I feel, there's a lot of death and rebirth happening. So I don't think there's just one rebirth, there are several. as we are constantly dying upon our old selves, the old aspects we let go of, and then constantly rebirthing. And that sometimes also has an effect on our physical appearance, for example, where we don't look, as good as we might, do at other times for a period of time. I especially have found that over the last half a year, where I was like, especially with no sun and it's winter, it just doesn't become me. But again, it's one of these things where, if we put too much emphasis on outside appearances, whether it's of others or of ourselves, it's not really something that lasts, as we all know, as in we do get older. And what is beauty anyway? Who decides what beauty is? And that's where we really have to love ourselves, warts, wrinkles, scars and all. And even on the days where we don't feel as good about ourselves. And that's not just physical, that's obviously also meant on an emotional level, maybe when we have a bad day and we've been giving out to our children or our partner or someone else, and to really keep coming back to our true divine essence of the beauty and the source within that is always present and that cannot be taken away from us from any outside source. And especially as women also, I find that often we give of ourselves so much because we were taught to look after the people around us, especially if we would be in a more traditional environment of staying at home, looking after our children, even if it's just for a short amount of time. We are often programmed and conditioned to giving of ourselves so much that we don't really fill up our own cup. And it's really so important to keep making time for ourselves, nurturing ourselves, whatever that may mean for us, whether it's a bath or, just reading a book, going for a walk or by yourself, whatever it may be, to keep filling up that cup, because we cannot give from an empty cup. And I really had to learn this because it's so deeply ingrained that we try and make other people happy. It's for anyone who's a very sensitive person, where we try and, make other people happy, or we are sacrificing our own happiness, our own well-being on behalf of others. And that's really one of the things I find that throughout this journey that has to be changed, because it's really upside down. Once our cup is filled up, we will give from a really happy, overflowing heart that, is happy to give, and it doesn't then end in resentment or blame because somebody else didn't appreciate what we have done or what we are giving, if that makes sense. Okay, enough of my talking. If anyone would like to ask a question or say something or share an experience about love of self, love of others, relationships, please raise your hand or put in a question now. Otherwise, if nobody has a question, I will babble on. Let me see. I don't even know if you can. No, you can't raise a hand. So I guess if you can just, if you put in the group chat, which is at the bottom of the screen, there's a little bubble, a speech bubble, which says chat. So you can then put in whether I would like to speak, or just put in your question if you don't want to talk and rather just write. Yes, Heather said, so much pressure for us to feel like we have some expectation to belong. Well, belonging, I mean, as I understand it, and please do verify if I'm not quite hitting the point there, but now this could mean whether it's a family, or do you rather mean like a group? I mean, in general, what I really find is the journey itself is about becoming totally sovereign in our own singularity. We do not need anyone or anything to show us who we are, how much we are worth. Nothing. Like, I have been without a home to my name properly for about almost a year now, after I ended my last relationship. And I really found, for example, belonging in the sense even of having a home. It's that home is truly where your heart is. It's nothing anyone can take away. Like, there is no security in life. That really is an illusion. As in, if we have savings, we have a house, you know, that we own, or a car, or things, jewelry, no matter what, something can always happen. Somebody can break into your house, take your things. Your house can burn down. There is no financial security as such, which will ensure you that you will, for example, belong in a physical space. So that is something where we then find that connection to source within, where we will always feel at home, no matter where we are. Whether we're moving, you know, from, like I have done, Airbnb to Airbnb from day to day, or, you know, or sleeping on the sofa of a friend, we will still feel at home. And when it comes to groups, again, it's something that we, you know, we really become sovereign in our singularity, in the sense of that we do not need a group to reflect back at us how liked and loved we are, who we are, what we stand for. Definition really goes out of the window throughout the ascension process, in my experience, as in, we don't identify with our old self anymore, because there's so much distortion that has been, you know, as we talked about at the beginning, all, whether it's implants and attachments, whether it's programming, whether it's templates, you know, all of the stuff, especially from our environment, that has been programmed into us since we were a child, that all is being released and purified to a degree where we understand the truth, that this is not the truth. These are just things that people tell us. I mean, for example, what is normal? Normal is what the majority of people agrees on. I mean, look outside so far. What is the normal that the collective is agreeing on? It's a psychosis we live in. As in, we accept on a certain level that, you know, a huge amount of the population on planet Earth lives in poverty. It's not acceptable. That's a human psychosis. That's what we are all breaking through, of saying, no, that's not okay. We're not trying to get angry about it. We don't try and resist it. We understand why it has come to this point. But we also have to get to an energetic point where we say, no, this is not okay. This is not how the world is supposed to be. I was rambling on there a little bit, but I hope that made some kind of sense. Just to clarify what Hedda said, and he was saying, okay. Yeah, and we don't have to fit in anywhere into any little neat boxes at all. The box doesn't exist. Think of it that way. Now, Shan says, I have really been working, healing on self-love for 18 years, and I feel I'm still having struggles with this and not sure what else to do. It's really through a lot of tender, loving self-care, mainly, as in, you can do mirror work. It's sometimes a little bit uncomfortable if you look in the mirror and you say, I love you, Sandra. Sorry, Sharon. I love you, Sharon. I love you, Sharon. I love you, Sharon. It can actually be a little bit uncomfortable at the beginning. Because again, we are so used to judging ourselves, and it's almost not normal to love ourselves, because we are then felt, or, you know, by the programming that we are full of ourselves, and full of ourselves, that's exactly where we need to get to. But it doesn't come from an ego perspective. It comes from a very healthy self-love, because how can we ever love anyone else if we don't fully love ourselves? We will always be in distorted relationships until we can really come into a relationship within ourselves that is based in purity and unconditional love. and no matter what and who we are. It really, there is no judgment from source. There is none. And that's why I said with the end of karma, you know, for example, I used to have a lot of anger within me, which I understand now more, knowing more about my different soul aspects that I've been reintegrating. And, you know, for example, the divine feminine within us all, this is not a gender specific thing, has been so suppressed and abused over the millennia that there is a lot of anger, for example, within our DNA, within our energy bodies. Empaths will feel a lot of our environment. I had a few years where I barely got out of bed because the clearing was so deep. And I remember about evening time when everybody would stop working, I was starting to feel a little bit better because I could really, I felt everything around me. I feel the whole collective, and many of us will agree with this, that we are so sensitive that we pick up all sorts of energies, whether it's about the area we live in, the people we come into contact with, you know, the collective, wherever we go, we pick this up until we realize or learn certain tools such as energy protection. But even then, I mean, we're going into oneness. We cannot really distance ourselves, you know, from everything around us. Like, we don't want to, you know, like, what's the name, hide and, you know, not be part of the community around us. That's not the place. But at times we might feel like we want to hide back in our shell. That's for sure. So I would really say, you know, it takes as long as it takes. That's the main thing, our healing work. It really, it always has been. I mean, all of this is this. We just at some point become more conscious of what we're actually doing. But for example, you know, before we might have heard of the whole spiritual ascension thing, we have gone to psychologists or therapists. The missing link there is that we don't, or that the psychiatric profession doesn't really include the soul and all of the soul trauma we have been through. So really clearing our DNA, clearing our energy bodies, and reconnecting the DNA and our different soul fragments is really what will get us there. And it will take as long as it takes. Like, there is no rush. There's nothing we miss out on. It's important that we try and keep a balance, which I haven't done at a point in my experience where I was just too focused on all of this, but I also knew it was the quickest way through. Of sometimes, you know, not that I felt I had much of a choice, just staying in bed, because I could literally not move. Physically, mental, emotional, I was non-functional. And I had a really hard time because my daughter was really small, and it was always, I'm in pain, I'm tired. I was also very cranky. So, you know, it was not nice to go through. And it had also had some damaging effects with my relationship with my daughter. But all I can do is to forgive myself and love myself unconditionally. If I do not do this with myself, I cannot do this for others. That's why filling up your own cup is so important. And it's a big cup, and we keep filling it up. And we have to see that all the people we have in our lives, such as our children, for example, they came in on purpose as a soul agreement in place with all of the people in our lives that have agreed to make these experiences with us. And I also know that all I'm doing is for her not to have to go through the same crap I had to go through in my life. So clearing out all this ancestral crap and programming is so she doesn't need to do this and doesn't have, you know, and has a better world to live in. I mean, I'm so hyped about that part. You know, one day she will understand. She's only 6 years old now, but that's why I had to keep coming back and have the highest perspective of what you're doing is for yourself, it's for your ancestral line, it's for everyone around you. When you change, your whole environment change, the people around you change, or they go away. And you do it for the whole collective and the tribes and bloodlines you're connected with. This goes beyond even the planetary scale. This is on a whole cosmic, universal, omniversal level. There is no more sacred service than self-healing. I hope that answered your question. Okay, I'm not sure, Ona, whether that's Annette. I have been told a few times, you're welcome, Sharon. I have been told a few times that I need to leave my marriage for my gifts to open and to be shown my purpose, and also to leave all that I have. Yeah, well, first of all, I would say, when you say you're being told, is it from the same person? Is it from people around you? Or is it your own inner calling? Because one of the things we really have to do now is to be our own shepherds, as in we have healers, we have teachers, we have guides, but don't let anyone tell you what you're here to do or not do. You're the only one who can find this out. And that's a general disclaimer. I actually should have done at the beginning. Whatever I say, use your own resonance, what you feel applies to you, and leave the rest. Okay? Nobody has all the answers. I'm just can give you my perspective on things from my experience in life and what I've learned along the way. So first of all, always see what anyone ever tells you or whatever you read and see and hear. Always use your own discernment. That comes first. Second of all, let's say this is something that resonates with you. I will say from my own experience, and I can only use my own experience, and that what I've experienced in my life through other people's experiences, is that I could see in my relationship that I left that it was very distortionate. And most relationships from the 3D perspective, these old relationships, let's say, are based on distortion. So there will always be a push-pull effect of one feels more and the other less than the other. One is needy, the other one is pushing back. And there is a codependency running. There are a lot of distortions that run that come usually from our childhood and also other lifetimes that we play out in these karmic relationships. And until we have not fully healed, and that's both parties, all of our imprints and programs and distortions, for lack of a better word, we will not be able to have a relationship of 5D or beyond, as in, I don't really like to use that term, but a higher consciousness relationship. As in, when we hear about Unio Mystica or divine union, this first happens within us. So we first have to clear out all our junk, our etheric, our physical, mental, emotional bodies, and basically the karmic density, because this is what it's all about. We often attract partners from other lifetimes that we had, whether it's a soul agreement, and often we've actually been in relationships with them before in other lifetimes, to come and clear out that which needs to be addressed. So just give my example. So with my ex-partner, I could see from my own looking at my other lifetimes and from a regression therapy that I was married to him at least twice before. We should have known better. But anyway, I can now really, after a little bit of time has passed and we had split up, I can now, and I always did actually see the higher perspective of, we came in together to learn these soul lessons. So all the pushing each other's buttons to the highest degree, all the arguments were really there for me to understand what my soul lessons were. That I had to have stronger boundaries. I wasn't to try and fix someone else. I shouldn't try to convince anyone of anything. I can't make anyone look after themselves and heal themselves. They have to want to do this for themselves. So the total, being sovereign in our own singularity, in our own experience, as in self-responsibility. So I can't make him fix himself, for example. And which is interesting. So what I had to do was, I have a 6-year-old daughter. At the time she was 5. And I had to really walk out from one moment to the next. And I had 70 euros in my pocket. I had a friend's sofa to sleep on. Didn't have a clue what I was about to do. The social welfare system here wasn't really helpful at all. And I just knew I had to get out because it was getting so distortionate for my daughter to live in. And I could see how I was replicating my own experiences as a child of growing up in this kind of environment of disharmony and worse, of the distortion that I was exposing her to the same environment that I grew up in and suffered through. And I had to just stop it. And he wouldn't leave, so I had to leave. The only other thing would have been calling the police, which I didn't want to do to her either. So I had to walk out, and I had to trust that the divine would have my back. And it did, from moment to moment. It was a path of initiations, but that's okay. Then he was very angry for me for a long time. So we had to burn off that karmic stuff. And then, slowly but surely, we spent more time because I didn't have a place to take my daughter to when I had time with her, I had to come back into my old home. And then he would be triggered by me. He still gets a bit triggered by me. But the interesting thing was I could see this was the quickest way through. And I knew I was supposed to build new templates of relationships, because everything we do in our own lives will have an effect on, again, the collective and all these parallel timelines, because these are the soul lessons we came in with that also have it's like a bleed over from other lifetimes. There's certain soul themes that we came in here to resolve. And the biggest lesson for me was unconditional love and non-judgment. And the non-judgment piece is very difficult because there's still some things that are not working, but we've come a long, long way. And I could see me walking out was the quickest way through that. I mean, I couldn't stay anymore anyway. But since before Christmas, also now, he's actually allowed me to stay in my old home. So we're all living together again. He's got a new girlfriend. He takes our daughter there sometimes. He didn't tell me that he did have a new girlfriend for a long time, which I was triggered through. So it's very unconventional, but I can see from the highest perspective, I am supposed to be here to fulfill that contract, which is now ended, which I can see. And I really feel like a lot of these karmic cycles are now coming to a close. But of course, again, we need to learn all the soul lessons. And there was still a little bit to iron out. And in regards to gifts and abilities, I find sometimes, for example, partners, and obviously if you're in a happy relationship, you shouldn't be wanting to change anything. But if there are distortions, what is happening is that this karmic density gets stuck. Like I was thinking for a long time, oh no, I'm supposed to stay here. That's kind of the contract I made, and I'm going to make it work. And I tried for many years to make it work. It didn't work out. So I had to just see that, no, that wasn't the way on how to resolve the karmic contract. This resolution was to break the contract and to not, because a lot of us women would also be dependent, which I was financially dependent on those partners. And again, this comes from many other lifetimes of having had all these agreements or dowry contracts. Women were often married off, or it was more an arrangement than maybe love marriage. But again, this also can come from other lifetimes. Like there's a lot of ownership around relationships, and it was in mine that from these other lifetimes he thought he had some kind of ownership on me, and that can be very subtle. So there are a lot of layers and levels to that. So this karmic density can be a block, can hold you back, can hold you down, and really fully stepping into your abilities and what you came here to do as a soul, because we all have different missions that we came here with. And also a big thing in general is that whenever we push through any big fear, your DNA, your multidimensional DNA will get unlocked, because this fear is really what's paramount within the collective of what's keeping us being fed off, siphoned off. You know, the negative energies, entities that have been feeding off our trauma, fear, all these lower emotions. Fear is a major thing, a huge density that can be released as we push through those fears. So me walking out the door without really knowing how I would survive unlocked a lot of, of my communication with source, of my multidimensional DNA coming online. And every time I did this, I could feel more of my abilities and gifts coming through. So you don't necessarily have to leave your partner, but just any kind of fear, like maybe make a list, write down what's the fear, push through them, face them head on. I tell you, it's a really great catalyst. I hope that answered the question. I don't want to, babble on too much, because I just hear myself talk here. I just need to have a quick check on the messages. I'm just going to read this out because it's a group chat. Hannah said, yes, I spent a lot of money on psychiatrist medications to try to fix myself, because I felt there must be something wrong with me, and only because I felt I was alone in the world. And even though I didn't want to be like those around me, it was necessary to wear the masks and to be able to at least pretend, because it was better than the alternative of feeling alone. Of course, I don't feel this way any longer, but I think that we all share similar experiences. Yes, we are the ones who didn't really fit in at some point or another, because we're breaking free of these constraints and boxes. And I've also had experiences with psychiatrists and psychiatrists, and it's fine, the experience we had. I've tried out antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication. I had a couple of burnouts through my last sales job. That's why I have not been feel guided to go back into that profession. And it's all part of our soul experience. There's no wrong way either of doing this journey. We always end up where we need to be. And sometimes we take a long sidewalk also. But again, I think it's all perfect. That's what we also have to just rest in the knowing it will all work out. One of my favorite affirmations is, everything is always working out for me. And it doesn't mean it works out right there and then in that moment, but eventually, ultimately, it will work out. Okay, Annette, I have left marriage and kids to move forward on my journey. It happened in the most beautiful and miraculous way. The decision has to come from your own heart with an inner knowing that it's your highest and greatest good. Yes, one more thing also on that, especially with women and children as mothers, there has been a false mother principle and a deep conditioning and program in our collective of, again, we have to sacrifice ourselves for our family and children. And for example, leaving your child behind is the worst thing that can happen. And I believe we can all say, anyone who's done this, we never leave our children behind, because first of all, they're always in our heart. They're always part of us. They're part of us. Yeah. So you can't ever separate us. Also, physical separation is part of the illusion. Time and space is part of the 3D illusion. Like when I was in Canada for a month last year, and I couldn't get back because I didn't have the finances, and I hadn't seen my daughter for so long. And of course, she didn't understand it at the time, of 5 years old. I had to keep coming back to the knowing that, first of all, she's in my heart, that I was doing it for the right reasons, although the 3D people, and again, it's just a way of explaining it. I don't really like using the 3D, 5D because it creates separation in itself. But let's say the people who don't see it from these more expanded levels of consciousness is that what we do is the opposite of what we've been taught in in a normal 3D existence. I have to use this word. But it's exactly on purpose, because we're breaking through these old programs and patterns. We can't keep the distortion alive of sacrificing ourselves for our children, our partners, for anyone. If our own guidance is showing us this is what we have to do, then this is what we have to do. We have to follow our own soul calling as much as possible. Obviously, we want to keep some sort of balance there and not just, run off into the hills and don't care what happens to our children. I knew she was being looked after by her father very well, and that was just what had to happen. I was shown this as a path, however hard it was on my heart. But also, for example, we can connect with them during dream time, making an intention of saying, we would like to meet in the cities of light during dream time and connect with them this way. And, I always psychically connect with my daughter. If she's not around me, I send her protection and healing and so forth. So again, it wasn't easy. It had some repercussions. I had to build up on that relationship again. And I was the mother, first of all, who had huge separation anxiety. And she has big separation anxiety. So she likes to be around people all the time. And again, I had to remember that this was just what I was shown, and that this was also to break through these old patterns of how we believe a mother should be like. I remember doing a Maria Montessori course and learning that Maria Montessori gave her child away because she was not in the position to look after that child, and she wasn't married. And I know I was just judging it. And that's another thing. Whatever we judge will come back around into our faces until we become neutral about it, okay? Because everything is just an experience. So, if we don't lose that judgment, I have found that we will actually come up and later and say, okay, great, I judged that. Now I'm actually experiencing this. So our job is to become, get into divine neutrality about all of the stuff. And again, there is a lot of false programming and templating around basically a false mother principle, false parent principle, really. Because until we have sorted out all our distortions, all these templates, programs that are not in alignment with the true divine human that we came here to be, we will keep on passing these distortions to our children, children's children, and so forth. Because that's what's happened so far. One generation gives this to the next, and the next, and the next. That's what the whole ancestral clearing is about. And it doesn't serve anyone. We try and fix something that we actually have to fix within ourselves. So, for example, if I can see something with my daughter that comes to my attention where I might tend towards judgment, I actually have to go within myself and see, okay, where am I still doing that? Where can I heal this within myself? And as we do this, we will actually see it will have a positive effect on them, because again, this is the distortion. We kept fixing or trying to fix and heal everyone around us. What we actually had to do is fix ourselves, because they are these mirrors to reflect back at us what we need to still address. The same as with partners and so forth. And sometimes it's not so much that it's, what we need to fix, but sometimes it's also something we just need to come into divine neutrality towards. And it has been maybe an old behavior of ours. And we just need to not judge it anymore. And otherwise, so it's always whenever I see something coming up in my experience that niggles me and triggers me, I'll go in and see, okay, where do I have to heal this within myself? Where do I have to come into neutrality towards this? Because it was possibly an old behavior of mine, or it's something so foreign to me that I just have to integrate it, because it's an aspect of the oneness in the end, an aspect of me that I just have to integrate. And we do this with love. Love is the main it's the energy this universe is made from. That's what source is, and this is where it all comes back to, and it heals all wounds. It really does. So thank you for sharing that, because I know it's not easy to say, Annette, because there's so much societal programming around this, and any of the experiences. Like, I know sometimes my life might seem to someone like, you know, a bit crazy, but I know it's all to create new templating. Like I can see the higher perspective of my life and that of others. Heather, yes, I'm at a crossroads within my relationship at the moment myself, because it lacks growth and we've grown apart. I see it as an opportunity to explore more of who I am. I found a place to camp near Mount Shasta. I'm excited to start a new adventure. Wow, Mount Shasta, that sounds awesome. I love it. I'd love to go there. Yeah, relationships, the new higher consciousness relationships, there is no need, there is no attachment, there is no want. It's just unconditional love. If either of us have to go and do something to have a soul experience, you know, if both people really unconditionally love each other, and if you're meant to be together, you just let them go. It's the opposite of the needy push-pull of what we are used to, and I have plenty of experiences in that. So it's really hard to overcome this. It really is that you get to a point of where your partner could leave you tomorrow and end up with another woman, and you'll be okay about it. Now, I'm not saying you're there straight away, but this is egoless. It's unconditional love. It's not, I love you when you do this, or I won't love you anymore because you've done this to me. It's understanding that, you know, love is eternal, and obviously there's a difference in karmic relationships and, as they call, twin flame relationships or soul mate relationships. There are different levels to this, because karmic relationships are really here to help us lose our karmic density, to learn these soul lessons. And twin flame relationships are really they help each other grow and expand. And it's not based on sex or neediness or any of the stuff. You can come into contact with a twin relationships and still work on your karma. They help you get through this, and it's actually more intense than normal soul mate relationships or karmic relationships. But they will really expand you on a different level, and they are more about service than, you know, about the relationship itself. So you could spend time apart and do your own thing, and it's still all fine, or it might not be fine, as I said, because you still are working through a lot of the karmic soul lessons you came here to resolve. So, you know, it isn't all, you know, roses, sunshine, and butterflies, that's for sure, in any relationships. But any relationship is there, all in any kids, partners, co-workers, whatever it is, to help us expand, really, ultimately. And if we keep this in mind, it becomes a bit easier, and we are not to take anything personally, because none of this is personal. Like, even if we made these agreements before incarnation, it's to, you know, learn together, to expand together. And yes, we made it with that person, but it's still, they're not doing something to us because we are such a horrible person, or because we deserved it. No, because we came here to learn these lessons together. We teach them, they teach us. There's no one better or less, or, you know, better or worse. Ultimately, in the end, it's about finding, once we've cleared all these distortions within us, we are not attracting anymore those people who are not good for us ultimately, who maybe not respect us or don't value us, and all of these things, but will find another person who's made as much, who has had as much self-healing work done or done this within themselves, that you then come together as equals. And this is really what all of the new relationships are about. And this is what will build new communities. Because, what is the world? It's a series of relationships, and it starts at home. World peace starts at home. So we come within peace within ourselves. We bring it out into our relationships. Again, both people need to be on that same level. Again, for lack of better wording, it's not a level. It's just you've done your work, because you're not going to try and fix them anymore. There's no codependency. You don't have this push and pull, and you come together as equals, totally sovereign. And you have come into union, into divine union with the masculine and feminine within first. And then that partner who will match that frequency will show up. Yeah, so the owner, like I just see the name owner, so I'm not sure it is. I stay, as I don't know where I'm going with my life. I have no clarity. My husband is a great guy, but there is no commonality. It will become apparent to you as and when it's supposed to be. Everything serves a purpose. And again, it's more about our relationship with self, and the rest will become clear. Or also, as things are coming more into alignment within us as we do the work, things that are not in alignment in our life anymore with that soul path will become very apparent. And like, for example, in my experience, I could not stay another day. It just was not possible for anyone involved. It became very apparent. So just, there's no rush, there's no pressure, nobody should tell you anything. You know yourself what you want to do and what's right for you in your life. Sandra, I'm shown very clear contrasts in relationship with family, mother and daughter, which is very angry from them. One daughter is exactly the opposite, shows such unconditional love. I get taken on a rabbit hole with the anger. Any suggestions? Yes, mother-daughter relationships. That's another biggie. This is another big part of the healing work, where the mother-daughter relationship has been distorted on purpose. I'm getting the feeling there might be negative energies in play who are manipulating also the situation. Again, I mean, on a higher level, it's all a soul contract, but there might be energetic things that you could do to help the situation. Like when I look back, I understand now that I was heavily targeted by negative forces, psychically attacked, attachments, implants, and so forth. And really it's to do with the soul fragments, those that don't align and that really block us and that feed of our negative energy and these negative patterns that keep reoccurring. That I had a really difficult time with that anger, as I said. So you can do things like, I would start with yourself, maybe doing some kind of clearing around this. We did some today. What I have found, again, I've done a few clearings like this over the time. Attachments, implants, and so forth, they have a way of reattaching, although there is a general collective cleanup at the moment going on. So what I would say is that it's being taken care of on a higher level, where these negative energies just have to leave the planet now. So there is no more of this carrying on with what has been going on planet Earth, the experiment, the experience, the game, however you want to call it, of these forces that we can't see. It's in the etheric, it's in our bodies and energy bodies. We can clear them out. I found that this goes in layers, or that they also have a thing of reattaching themselves if we don't have enough tools of protection. Also, it has to do with our own patterns of behaviors and belief systems, that if we don't address them, these things will come back attaching themselves, because it's just an energetic reflection of these distortions as well. So, for example, I did an extraction. A friend of mine, she does hypnotherapy. She did attachment removal from me, and one of the things that were found was Lucifer. Now, Lucifer is an energy, it's a frequency. There's not just one. And we could see in that session that it was enmeshed in my energy body, literally enmeshed. Like, it took 2 tries to get that thing out of me. But what I could also see is that I made a soul contract with that over many lifetimes, because what I did for a long time is that I was clearing negative energies through me. So that was symbolic, really, for the energy work I have been doing and had signed up for many lifetimes. And releasing that really had a big effect on my anxiety and anger levels. But obviously, I also had to do more work on myself, addressing all these beliefs and patterns and, all these unhealed parts of myself on the other layers to, purify myself further and further. This goes in layers. It doesn't just happen from one moment to the next, or which would short circuit, like we would burn ourselves, just get a bit scrambled. I think an example here to give is when something like this happens from one moment to the next would be Eckhart Tolle, where you're then not able to remember how to live anymore, for example. So most of us will go through this in layers. So that's one part of that, which I would say might be an idea to do, of really a deep clearing of any attachments, implants, devices, all of that stuff. I will also be offering that in the future. I just need to focus on putting that offering together, but there are many people out there who do that kind of work. Then on the general anger thing is accept your anger. Don't judge it. That's the biggest advice I can give you, because it will keep us going around in loops of us being angry with ourselves, of being angry with our children or anyone around us, or being angry in general, of any lower emotions. Any lower emotions we love, we bring them up. We really have to face our shadow side. So we bring them up, we look them in the face, say, thank you, anger, for showing me there's something not in alignment, something that is, triggering me here, bugging me here, and something I need to address. And you love it and you send it back to source, because we have to really face our emotions. It's not that we dwell in them. But for example, what you can do is, if you're really angry, instead of, next time letting it out on the people around you, go and punch a pillow, go into, maybe if you can, go for a walk, scream somewhere where you're undisturbed, stomp your feet, do something that might get rid of your anger and your energy, because it's all really just energy held within our body. It's karmic density held within our body, and it comes in many different forms. And loving it unconditionally, loving that angry part of you, because anger is a natural emotion. It's just that there's such a thing as negative anger, and other anger that we can transmute, because also what anger does is that we can use it as a catalyst to transmute something. So let's say I get angry at the social welfare system because it doesn't work, and has a place, and it provides for people that otherwise would be on the streets, but it doesn't work for everyone. And I can use that anger and frustration and actually say, no more. And I energetically call out to Mother, Father, God, and I say, no more of this. It's not okay. I'm calling forth, prosperity for everyone, and so forth. I don't give it my energetic consent anymore. I know this might not be the best example in this case, but it's just about us transmuting all these lower emotions into something better, because there's no better catalyst of, a little kick in the bum of us making changes. So whether it's that what makes you angry, whether it's someone else is doing, for example, people who don't respect us, don't value us, that we make again, and it's first of all energetic, it starts within us, that we say, no, I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be respected. I deserve loving relationships. And actually through affirmations, because actually on a deeper level, this comes again, it's many things, but it comes from a very deep belief system that our daughter doesn't love us, our son doesn't love us, our partner doesn't love us, and they're not respecting us. And we keep actually in this loop pattern of repeating this over and over again on a very deep level. And what we're going through for the ascension journey is really that we're bringing the unconscious to consciousness. So we're making the unconscious conscious. So these deep-seated belief patterns that we actually, our realities are based on, and that we then find ourselves in, is what we have to change. So once you become aware of where that anger comes from and go deep, deep down to the root, you've got to pull it out and you change it there. So affirmations are a great way of doing that, which is, for example, my family loves and supports and respects me. I am loved by everyone. I deserve respect. I respect myself, most of all. I learned I didn't respect myself. I didn't have boundaries. I didn't, I let people do the same things over and over again with me. So I had to change that, and most of that is energetic. I hope that helps a little bit. Love my babbling. Thank you, Heather. I'm doing a lot of that. Oh. Yes, I love glamping. Actually a big fan. Yeah, just a very tiny little moment. I need to very quickly. You can never drink enough water. So sorry for that. My partner has a daughter from a previous marriage. I struggle to accept that the mother and child will always be part of our life. I know it's his karma, but I struggle to see why I was placed in such a situation. Why did my soul decide to experience this? I have not met them yet in real life, but it's difficult for me to accept the situation. Understanding why my soul chose that would help me, if you have any advice. Well, I can't tell you exactly why you chose this, this specific, incarnation. It's quintessentially so that you can resolve any ego distortions. Still left, again, distortion is not a nice word, but it's, if we come from a place of, it's a non-ego, it's not non-ego, but we get rid of the negative ego. So it's the, for example, that there is, I'm getting a sense of competition or feeling, that there is this other part from your partner that has, some hold of him. It's taking up some time, or there's a history and there's a comparison of some sort, maybe. And obviously they're, within your life. And in the end, it's karma, but karma is often looked at as something negative. It's not really, it's just soul lessons. I think we need to be neutral about this. In the end, also what you do have to see is that I believe before you went into, getting married, that you knew of the relationship. So you did have a conscious decision of entering that marriage whilst knowing he was previously married and has a child. Now, because I know from my own experience as a child, my mom had different partners. So I remember never having had a very good relationship with the partners of my mother, besides maybe one who actually accepted me, because they always saw me as competition. So, because this is also what I felt, just intuitively, of what might be part of the discord there. Because you need to just see, what is it I'm actually struggling with, that I can't have this person all for myself. And again, this is the ownership. This is it's a, you know, it's that 3D relationship where we want to own someone all to ourselves. We want to have all the love and attention. We need their feedback that we're the only one, that we're loved. And this is something that kind of goes out of the window if we want to live in higher consciousness relationships, because we don't need anyone else to give us that reassurance and that love anymore. We are fully, we love ourselves so much that we don't actually need anyone else to reflect that back at me. Because in the end, whatever we lack in self-love, no one else can ever fill us with. Like, you could have the most amazing partner, no, luggage, let's call it that, no, who loves and adores us and carries us on his hands. If we still have some lack within us of self-love, it will never be enough. It will never be enough. It's like feeding some hole, that can never be filled, because there's a little thing missing at the end, and it keeps trickling through and keeps trickling through. So no matter how much love you put in there, it keeps, needing to be refilled. And we sometimes don't even believe them. So for example, my mother would have showered me with love and I'm so great and whatever. I did not believe her. And actually, which I found out later on, why I didn't believe her is because she didn't love herself. So I didn't see the authenticity there. And again, it was self-love that I had to find within myself first, that nobody else can give you. I hope that answers your question a bit. I mean, there are people who can go with you into past life reading, or like a soul reading or partnership reading that could go specifically to the point of some past life or some karmic contract that's at the bottom of this. But this would be the overall, what I'm intuitively getting of my intuitive advice there. I hope it helps. Sandra, yes. And my daughter hates me. My daughter dislikes my mom too. We have been abducted in the past. Abducted in the past in this lifetime or in past lives? I mean, mother-daughter relationships, as we know it, are very difficult at times. And again, there's a reason for it. It has to do with there's a distorted mother-daughter template. And I know I've also been working with this within my own life by correcting this. And most of this came through, I have to say, it's just self-work. I had to stop hating myself, because there's this, humanity has some deep self-destructive streak, and hate is part of that, self-hate is part of that, and not liking ourselves, not loving ourselves is at the bottom of all of this. So I needed to go deep within and find that self-love of myself. And this all happens in layers. As they say in Reiki, it's peeling the onion. So we often will have the same themes coming up again and again in our lives of, for example, people not respecting me, not listening to us, not feeling loved. I mean, I guess this is at the bottom of every relationship. And coming back to the distorted parent or false parent principle, again, we ultimately want to be loved and accepted and get the attention from our parents. And we didn't get that unconditionally as children growing up, because they also had these distortions carrying on from their parents and their grandparents. It goes through the generations. That's the ancestral clearing and healing that we all came here to do, and it starts with us. And we then also do this for our children. And you will see, as we are doing that work on ourselves, it will have a really positive effect on our relationships with our children, our partners, and all the people around us. Because once we don't get triggered anymore, like now when my daughter favors her dad over me, or has a day where, you know, she's really anti-mommy, I just don't let it affect me anymore. I know it's a deeper layer. I just have to keep reaffirming I love me. This is not even real as such, whilst, you know, checking, okay, what needs fine-tuning here? But it really starts with us. I just say, no, I love myself. I don't get triggered by it anymore because I know it's not personal, it's not me. We're clearing. It's also getting to the stage where, why should she, you know, because there's such a big thing about mother-child relationships, why should she prefer me over her dad anyway? Like, why can she not have a closer relationship with her dad? They're just on some soul level, just gel in a different way than I do with her. And I have to put my ego aside of not needing to be that number one person. And it's really hard at times. We want to be loved, we want to be accepted, blah, blah, blah. But we have to get to a point where I love myself. If you don't love me, that's fine. You know, you will work through these layers and it will become more and more apparent to you. And it will also improve the relationship as you address that which is being triggered. And the triggers are really the pointers of what really needs to be addressed, if that makes sense. Hi, Jamila. For the last 2 years, I can go to bed feeling happy, but wake up feeling very heavy, constricted, and sometimes a feeling of doom. Any suggestions? Okay, a feeling of doom, yeah. Well, I think there are different things that can be the case. So, first of all, it's the natural part of ascension to be going through deep, deep, deep clearings of our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual levels. There's a lot of karmic density we have carried through from this and other lifetimes that have to be cleared. And until we have cleared them, it can result in a lot of time in bed, a lot of time of resting, whilst our bodies are getting cleared and upgraded. There is a lot that's going on at the moment that, you know, as I said, I had 2 weeks of where I could hardly do anything. Other people are going through it now. You know, we don't usually all go through it at the same time. I always say if that would happen, the world would truly stop working. So we all go through it at different times. And first of all, there's nothing wrong with you. That would be my main message. That's the main thing, as in not feeling guilty for it. Obviously, if you feel there is something wrong with you physically or so forth, do go and see a doctor. But generally, it's a very normal side effect, the same as anxiety and depression, as we clear through these karmic density levels. So it's very heavy lifting, shifting work, really is. Then again, another part which I have been shown is that I was, and we all have these, we all have programs, we all have implants, sometimes control boxes from Atlantean times, attachments, and so forth. So, you know, this is nothing to be, it's normal. It's happened through evolution. It happened also on purpose from negative energies, entities that have targeted some of us, psychic attacks sometimes. So it can be many different things, and it's normal to have these things. They can be addressed in different ways. Now, again, it would be hard to say without really going further in what exactly it is for you, whether it's all just ascension or whether there might be something to be cleared up on a deeper level. But in my own experience, as I said, I went through so much intensity, but it was more a feeling of inner torture, I have to say, which now makes more sense because I've been shown what was actually happened to me, which was a lot of these negative entities actually attacking me or messing with me. So I could have kept clearing and clearing and clearing without addressing that. I wouldn't have really made a big step or a big shift within my own well-being and consciousness. But really a lot of this is just normal ascension. It just clears, you know, illnesses come up, you feel really tired, exhausted, your body's aching, especially over the last few weeks. A lot of people have had that flu-type symptoms. That's all normal headaches, you know, it's your pineal opening. So, yeah, I mean, look after yourself as much as you can. Do what feels good. One of the tips I would give is I swear by salt baths. So whenever I feel achy and so forth, and not so great, Epsom salt baths or a few drops of lavender or, you know, sea salt, whatever it may be, is really, really good to clear physical, mental, emotional, spiritual levels of our energy bodies. And they're really helpful. Nature, earthing, bare feet on the ground. I lie down, feet on the ground, knees up. The sun is very good also for DNA activation. Expose your skin to sunlight as much as you can. Well, you know, within reason, don't get burnt. Water, loads and loads and loads of water, that supports the clearing. Also, especially after our call, I would recommend this. Do extra clearing for all the codes and all the clearings that have been activated. You know, things like turmeric, magnesium, all help. Maybe greens, you can also get them in tablet form, you know, like chlorella and so forth. That all helps and support the clearing process, because this is all this is really. It's clearing and upgrading, clearing and upgrading, clearing and upgrading. We're making space for more light to flow through us and for these DNA activations to take place. And again, and the feeling of doom, I think it's just generally also, we sometimes just feel a collective and anxieties in the people we're connected with. You know, there are other lifetimes and that bleed through as well, where we had, you know, bad stuff happening to us. It's about keep reaffirming, like a nice affirmation I came up with myself was very general. I'm manifesting a beautiful life for myself, full of love, peace, joy, harmony, balance, abundance, and perfect health. Keep repeating this over and over, because it's overriding all these belief systems and patterns and programs that we keep running around in our heads, that are of, you know, made from lower energy thought forms, that nothing works out for me, or nobody loves me, and I'm you know, I must be sick. You know, sickness for me doesn't exist. As in Reiki and energy healing, any illness, for example, also has an underlying energetic imbalance. So let's say, for example, you get cancer. Why some people get it again and again and again, for me, in my understanding, would be that you have an imbalance within your energetic body that is not being addressed. So you will keep being ill unless you address that issue. Louise Hay has a book on Heal Yourself, where she goes into the different illnesses and then different affirmations. And you can also Google some of them. So let's say Louise Hay, shoulder pain, and see what comes up. I hope that helps. I'm just gonna try and do this quickly now, because we're getting to the 2-hour mark. I have periods that things are so clear, I can feel unconditional love, or I can feel abundance, that clear knowing and feeling, but it lasts for a while, and then it feels like I want to catch the bubble that's gone. Where is that? Expansion and contraction, expansion, contraction. This is what this is all. We expand, we feel higher levels of consciousness, and then we clear out all that was not that. So let's say, you know, you feel an expanded level of consciousness and more love, then you will clear out all that is not that state and that vibration. So all feeling of non-love will come up for clearing, to very much simplify it. I hope that makes sense. It's very normal. It's a bipolar effect, however you want to call it. One second, I just need to close the door. My daughter just come back from the weekend. Okay, and thank you, Sandra. Tamina, thanks. I do various forms of protection, have called upon archangels, loop protective charms, prayers, music, etc. What still happens no matter what time I wake up. Well, I use pretty heavy protection. Um, Again, it might also be something that's within your energy field that you can't protect yourself from. If something is, you feel that is messing with you. So again, these removal of entities and implants, protection. I don't want to mention it too much, but it's really been brought to my attention lately, and that's what's happening at the moment. This is collectively being cleared, and this is what we feel as well. So we are becoming conscious of that, and I never really wanted to address it or give it too much focus either, because we're so trained within the light worker community to just focus on love and light, and that is, it's good to focus on the positives and what we want to experience, but we also have to bring up our shadow aspects, and that is part of it. We can't just, there's this beautiful saying by Carl Jung, the psychiatrist, and he said along those lines, not word for word, you don't find enlightenment through imagined figures of light. It's by facing your own darkness. And that's really what it is. It's our own darkness. It's also the energies that have maybe, attached to us that we need to get rid of. So that can definitely help. Oh no, you can hear me. Okay, sorry, Anyway, so sorry, because Jamelia just said something about the sound cutting out. I hope that was just on your side and not for everyone. Anyway, so removing these energies, entities, implants, so forth, it's something we all have or had at some point. I don't think there's just one way of going about it. We also need to address our own, aspects and programs and so forth that we have running, the belief system that are underlying this, why these things can also attach. And often what has actually happened is that through soul trauma, let's say we were tortured in a past lifetime, these entities were actually attached to us, or soul fragments also split off as we died and went through that trauma. That's sometimes why you hear, I don't know if you know this, guys, the Cathars, this famous story of the last burning of the Cathars, where they piled up 200 people and they wanted to burn them, and that a bunch of them went into the flames singing. They had no fear because they knew if they would meet death with fear, it was made on purpose. That's why torture and so forth is being used. It's because you have a split off of soul fragments and these entities can attach. So that's one thing, and obviously the other thing, really, really, really good protection. I might make another video of that at some point. We don't really have enough time now because I know we've gone 2 hours now of doing that. Just, quickly, I use several things. I use a blue cloak, then I put a pink one over and a golden yellow one, okay? Archangel Michael, clearing my field, also all corners of the house, up and down. Then I have a Merkaba around me. Then I have a bubble of light, okay? Golden silver, platinum silver light. I have 144 spheres around that. Diamond violet flame around that to not get to me. And then I also do like a diamond around me 5 times, going out really, really far, impenetrable. That's the quick version. Impenetrable is the good word here. And Archangel Michael is the best angel really to call in for protection, definitely. Okay, I'm just going to finish here and then just do a quick love meditation to just fill us all up with yummy love. Yes, and that's always, thank you, Shan, through sharing and talking together. I always, because I've taken part in similar calls in the past, it's beautiful because we all usually pick up something that is of use for us, because there's always a group consciousness that happens, and this field where we all learn from each other and from the things discussed and pick up various bits and pieces. So I think it always helps everyone. Okay, now let us just do a quick grounding meditation and fill us all up with yummy, yummy, yummy love. Just take a deep breath. And we call forth the love of the Divine Mother to fill up our bubbles of light with pure, divine, unconditional love. Filling every cell, every atom, every atomic and subatomic particle and wave, and all the spaces in between with her beautiful love. We can imagine this as a pink, crystalline white light and magenta light swirling all around and within us through our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, for ourselves, across time and space, filling with love and peace and joy, the joy of the child that we've once lost sometimes along the way, the joy of living, being bogged down for different things in our realities and from our life experiences. We let this all go back to source, all that has held us down, anything that might weigh on us. And we give thanks and gratitude for all that we have in our life. A roof over our heads, a bed to sleep in, food to eat, running water, for the simple things in life, for the sunshine that shines upon our skin, the wind blowing through the trees and the leaves, the grass beneath our feet, the birds singing, the butterflies and the bees, the air we breathe in that gives us life, and the sun, making everything grow. And we're just filled with this deep gratitude for having been given another day to be on this earth, to be here, to be of service to others, to be here to anchor our love and our light onto this earthly plane. Because we remember there was a reason for our incarnation to come here at this time in humanity's history, a most auspicious time. And we will now receive codes and keys from Source and the Divine Mother, triggering our memory of the purpose for our incarnation here, our main soul mission and purpose. What we came here to do, how we came here to serve, what we came here to be. Sometimes it's just being the love, being the forgiveness, being that compassion, being that gratitude, the frequency and the light, the keys and codes we anchor wherever we are, whatever we do. It's about our beingness, most of all. What are we being? in every moment. Not so much what we are doing or achieving or accomplishing, just being that love, being that light. And we stand full of love and pride in who we are, just as we are, perfect and loved by the divine, just as we are. And may we never forget that we are all totally unique fractals of souls that came here to experience our unique expression. And in truth, there is no right or wrong, no good or bad. It's all just experience. And may we remember this. Also when experiencing unpleasant situation, that we are reminded that all and everything is always here to teach us and to expand into higher levels of consciousness, now and always. But we call forth ease and grace, and peace and love, and joy and harmony, abundance and well-being into our lives, into every cell, into our life experience. And we give thanks to each other for taking this time for ourselves and sharing this time and space with each other. And we give thanks to all and everyone in our realities, sharing this experience with us, which is totally unique and a true gift from the Creator. Remembering we are the creators also, the creators incarnate, and we are here to manifest a beautiful life for ourselves, and that we have the power to do so. Rukushukana te itana seyana te utura te itana itiana nanata. Oina shina te itara te kitu tukunata. Situ uta neana kutala. So it is done, it is done, it is done. So it is. And we connect once more up to the source, pulling more light into our bodies, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies across all time and space. And again, for our heart center, we connect once more to the crystalline core of Gaia, Gaia's heart, anchoring us into her love as we send her love. All of Gaia, kingdoms, elementals, all life. And we breathe back up her love and her keys and codes. Now fully anchored onto this earthly plane, merging heaven and earth within our beingness. And what we do for ourselves, we do for all life. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking that time and being here. And I've just heard myself talking, but at least you've been writing. So I will send those. I just stopped recording there for a second. Oh yeah, just one more before I stop recording. Drink loads and loads of water. And if you like earthing and just connecting with Gaia and sending your keys and codes, throughout this call, we've activated a lot with each other. That's always beautiful, whether today or tomorrow, just with a conscious intention. It's always nice to do that and to exchange those codes. And light language, just one more thing, is our sound. It's eyeing, eeing, humming, singing a song, talking language that sounds gobbledygook at some point, because I have sometimes people asking me, I feel it just comes forth. Also, when we've done a lot of work or, have the desire to or have listened to a lot of light language from other people, it's something that at one point or another just wants to come forth. And all of this is light language, and especially we codify the land and we activate, certain sites, areas, we clear them, we activate them with our voice, whether it's just, eeing, eyeing, oohing, whatever it might be, a little humming, it's all light language. So I can highly recommend doing that wherever you go. Okay, thank you. Let's stop the recording.